Hi, it's Maggie the Irish Gypsy here to bring you your May 2022 mid-month general readings. Excuse me. We are looking at the last 2 weeks of May, and this reading is for the Earth sign of Capricorn. Welcome, everyone. As always, hope you're all doing well. Thanks for taking the time to be here to watch these videos. Your likes, shares, subscribes, feedback, comments, those of you who reach out for personal readings, every bit of it is appreciated. Okay, Capricorn, this reading is for you for the last 2 weeks of May 2022. If your Sun, Moon, Rising, or Venus sign is in Capricorn, if you're cross-watching for a Capricorn, it's all relevant. If you know your Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus signs, try to watch each of those videos for any additional insight they may provide. And if you find that something does resonate with you enough that you'd like to take a deeper look at something, reach out for a personal reading for yourself or as a gift for someone else, feel free to email me directly at maggie1mcguire@gmail.com. You can also find that email address by clicking on the description link, that little arrow attached to this video. I'd be delighted to hear from you, and I can usually respond the same day with more information. I do offer a wide variety of readings in all the main areas of life, and I'm pretty timely about scheduling, so email me if you're interested. Or as a gift for someone else as well. Personal readings do make great gifts. Okay, Capricorn, let's see what the last 2 weeks of May look like for you. I am using the Tarot of Dreams and clarifying with the Gilded Tarot Royale. We begin with feeling a little stuck here with the Eight of Swords. Feeling trapped, held hostage, or just bound perhaps by some kind of obligation that you feel you can't free yourself from. With the Ace of Swords, truth, enlightenment, epiphany, success that comes from clear realization of something in which, if you don't like your current reality, you have the opportunity to make choices to create a healthier reality. This is kind of like reframing something. I mean, in your mind. Here we have somebody who feels like they're trapped by this, or the other thing. But here, this is illumination. This is truth being revealed. So you're seeing the truth of a situation, either that you're not really trapped or learning by a situation or obligations, or you're learning to reframe how you look at it, gaining a different perspective. Next, we have the Hermit. Taking some time out, taking some time off, learning, contemplating, finding truth, insight, clarity, wisdom. With the Devil, toxic negative cycles, addictions, obsessions, mental health issues, a combination of all of those. It represents cycles that have become unhealthy. But with the Hermit and with the Eight of Swords and the Ace of Swords, this looks like you're in a big, what we might call a download period. Learning about, taking perhaps a look at negative cycles in your life and how they affect you, learning how to look at things differently, reframe things in our mind differently, gaining some truth and insight and perspective on perhaps your own habits, your own cycles, especially the unhealthy ones, and gaining knowledge and wisdom from that. Next, we have the Knight of Coins. Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, or Venus, your energy. Solid, stable, capable, reliable. This can be you or somebody else who's manifesting like this in your life. With the Four of Swords, taking a step back, taking time out, rest, recuperation, recovery. And from the bottom of the deck, the overall energy and focused for the last 2 weeks of May is Judgment, which represents being at a major significant crossroads, facing judgment, being accountable for yourself, your choices, your actions. You know, excuse me, a little hoarse this morning. You know, Capricorn, this kind of has a feel sort of similar to, I think it was Gemini's reading I did, that it's kind of a path of redemption. It's like, I mean, the Devil card here represents it for some unhealthy kind of negative cycles or patterns or addictions or obsessions or something like that. But it feels like you've come to a point where you're now This is like a recovery reading, or sort of like rehab. I mean, some of you might technically be in a rehab center of some kind or recovery center, but this is like taking a step back and taking time off to kind of look honestly at your own issues, your own cycles, um, facing the truth about that, which can be very difficult sometimes. We don't like to look at those aspects of ourselves, but in order to become better, to learn, to grow, and to become better, self examination has to come first, and that can be challenging. I mean, the overall energy is judgment. What does it mean to be judged? Judgment, I mean, it means to be called to account for yourself, to account for your actions, to answer for your actions, right? And you have a choice as to how you do that, or even if you do that, or if you go back into the same negative cycles. But it looks like here, like this is a path of real recovery, of real insight, of real learning, sometimes difficult, sometimes joyful, um, and recovery. You know, it's kind of taking time out and time off to do all this. Let's clarify judgment for overall energy. The Page of Pentacles, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, or Venus. I kind of like seeing the page with the King of Coins. Pentacles and coins are the same suit. Because if both of these cards represent you, Capricorn, it represents a graduation, of moving up, a maturing process. Like learning, growing, maturing. Strength, facing your fears, your doubts, your insecurities, facing that judgment. Judgment is like the repercussions of our actions and answering for those and accepting the responsibility of them. Again, feels like kind of a recovery reading. Clarify the Eight of Swords. Feeling trapped, held hostage. The Empress and the Ten of Cups. Motherhood, home, family. Perhaps what you're learning to reframe here, because remember that Ace of Swords represents that you're seeing this perhaps in a different perspective. Maybe you're a parent, a mother, or even a father, and maybe it's the responsibilities of motherhood, because the Empress is the traditional mother figure of the tarot. Could be that, and also perhaps issues with your own mother yourself. The Ten of Cups is traditionally the happy home and family. So, and there's, you know, when you have a home and family, especially if you have a large family, this can be, you know, it can be kind of overwhelming and exhausting at times, and you may feel sometimes trapped in that, or, you know, kind of held hostage by your own obligations. But here with the Ace of Swords, this is looking at this in a different way. Or maybe trying to also balance it with the joy and gratitude and blessings that you also get from that. Clarify Ace of Swords. The Ace of Swords is clarified by the Ace of Swords. Like, this is a real epiphany, the light bulb going off over your head. Judgment again. This is really seeing the truth and reality of something. This is learning. It feels like some of you are actually in a specifically structured healing process. It might be actually in some kind of place, like a rehab or a recovery place, you know, maybe going to counseling, learning how to look at things a little differently in your life, so that it perhaps doesn't make you feel quite so, you know, so that it learning how to balance things out, so that you don't feel so overwhelmed and prone to going back into whatever unhealthy cycle this Devil card represents. Because the Hermit is all about taking time off, taking time away from normal daily distractions in order to learn about that. Let's take a look at that Devil card. The Ten of Wands. The Tens represent cycle ending, cycle completion, and fulfillment. The Ten of Wands is like feeling at the end of your rope of carrying a very heavy burden, maybe for too long, feeling overwhelmed, like, I need this to stop, this can't happen. And clarifying the Devil card, I believe this is a trigger for you, Capricorn, and you're learning about this. You're learning about your own process, healthy process and unhealthy process. It feels like you're overwhelmed by all these burdens of home, family, whatever that means to you. And you end up feeling really overwhelmed, like I just can't, I've got the weight of the world on my shoulder, I can't do that. And that's a trigger for unhealthy patterns. You know, it could be drugs, drinking, overworking, mental health issues, a combination of all of those. They're triggered by feeling overwhelmed. So I think what you're doing here is self-examination, but it looks like you're getting help doing that in some way, in order to have the tools and techniques in place so that you don't get to this point, you know, like I'm at the end of my rope, which triggers unhealthy patterns and cycles and obsessions and addictions in your life. Let's clarify that Four of Swords: rest, recovery, retreat, gaining a different perspective. Perhaps learning how to do that for yourself regularly, so again, you don't get into this feeling overwhelmed place and dive back into that devil energy behavior, right? Clarify the Four of Swords. The Six of Swords and the Tower. This is rest and recuperation after some kind of major event. The Tower card can be difficult to take because it can represent an unexpected event that really breaks everything down, crumbles, or exposes things, right? Which is likely related to this Devil card energy. But this can be a real blessing in terms of any kind of recovery, whether it's from classic drug addiction or anything, any kind of negative, obsessive, addictive, compulsive behaviors. Because the Tower card, while sometimes very challenging or painful or traumatic to take in its actual happening, puts us in a place, it's kind of like hitting bottom, for a drug addict or an alcoholic, right? It can be an awful, painful thing, but it's also the thing that can potentially, if we choose to, put us on a path of recovery and healing, which is what the Six of Swords is. You're not quite to the other shore and on solid ground yet, but you're headed in the right direction. The choppy, muddy waters, the worst of it is behind you, and you're headed towards solid ground. It's a beautiful, this is like a recovery reading of some kind, and it's quite beautiful in its flow, although I'm sure it has, a number of challenges in it, but it's quite a beautiful energy, and you're definitely on the right path, Capricorn. All right, let's end with any advice, guidance, feedback from Spirit. Be kind to yourself. Temperance. This is balance. This is staying grounded in the middle, neither too much of one nor too much of the other. To temper things, in the culinary world, to temper things means to take things of opposite extremes or opposite temperatures and slowly, gradually introduce them to each other in a way that they can blend together and become balanced and harmonious. So it is mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually with temperance. Staying in the middle of that seesaw or teeter-totter, because that's where your truth is. Yes, I can do that, but if I do, I'll get overwhelmed. So I know what I can do and what I can't do or shouldn't do, and that's where I'm going to stay no matter how tempted I get. The arms, the outside arms of the seesaw or teeter-totter are those things that we have no control over. And if we're constantly leaving our center to go to those, that's when we lose our balance and fall off and become overwhelmed. Temperance is like, this is what I can do, this is what I can't do, this is what I know to be good and true for me, and that's where I had to stay grounded and kind of shift and adjust to maintain your balance there. The High Priestess, trusting your intuition, right? Paying attention to that still small voice inside of you, which is your connection to the divine. Listening to that, listening to repeated messages or signs because they're trying to tell you something. The Star, renewed and restored hope, faith, and optimism, comes after that Tower card in the tarot. After the smoke clears, it's a card of healing, of rebuilding, of the Star lighting the way to go, yes, you're on the right path now. Beautiful, kind of redemptive, recovering, healing sort of reading, Capricorn. All right, Capricorn, those are your messages for the last 2 weeks of May. I hope they were helpful, useful, gave you something to think about. Again, if any of these readings resonate with you and you'd like to take a deeper look at something, reach out for a personal reading for yourself or as a gift for someone else. You can click on the description link, that little arrow, to see my email address. Email me directly, Maggie1McGuire@gmail.com. I'd be most happy to hear from you and to work with you. I will see you all in a couple of weeks for the June general readings. Until then, stay safe and well. Hope to see you back here again soon. Bye-bye.